No panic buys. Why Amarim's January transfer strategy shows United are finally thinking smart. Welcome to Unite United News, where we separate transfer rumors from reality. Hello and welcome back to Unite United News, your trusted source for making sense of the constant noise surrounding Manchester United transfers. We know you are bombarded with rumors every single day. We know every player in Europe gets linked with United at some point. We know it can be exhausting trying to figure out what is real and what is just speculation designed to generate clicks. That is why we are here. We cut through the nonsense. We focus on credible information from reliable sources. We help you understand not just who United might sign, but why those signings would or would not make sense. So thank you for trusting us to be your guide through the chaos of the transfer market. Now let us talk about what is actually happening with United's January plans. The timing of these transfer stories. Manchester United have hit a good run of form. 10 points from a possible 12 in their last 4 Premier League matches. Wins over Sunderland, Liverpool, and Brighton. A creditable draw away at Nottingham Forest. Suddenly United are 8th in the table, level on points with 5th place Tottenham and very much in the mix for Champions League qualification. This improved form has changed everything. A few weeks ago, Ruben Amorim was under massive pressure. Questions were being asked about whether he was the right man for the job. The team was inconsistent. Results were poor. There was genuine worry about where United were heading. But now, the pressure has eased. Amorim has breathing room. He can think clearly about what needs to happen next rather than desperately trying to save his job. And with the January transfer window approaching, that means planning for how to strengthen the squad. It is no coincidence that transfer stories are starting to appear now. When United are doing well, when there is positive momentum, that is when clubs and agents start pushing their players toward Old Trafford. That is when journalists start writing about big money moves. That is when fans start dreaming about new signings who will take the team to the next level. But here is the question that matters. Will Manchester United get caught up in the hype? Will they panic and spend big money on players who do not fit the long-term plan? Or will they be smart, strategic, and patient about how they approach January? What Fabrizio Romano actually said. Let us start with the facts. Fabrizio Romano, one of the most reliable transfer journalists in the world, has revealed what Manchester United are planning for January. And his information is interesting because it shows a level of thought and planning that United have not always demonstrated in previous transfer windows. Romano confirmed that conversations have already started between Amorim, the board, and the management about January. This is good. It shows they are not waiting until the window opens to start thinking about transfers. They are planning now, which gives them time to identify the right targets and negotiate properly. Romano also revealed that United are specifically looking for a midfielder. This makes sense. Despite the improved results, midfield remains an area where United could use reinforcement. Case Moreau is performing well, but he is not getting any younger. The team needs options who can provide quality both now and for the future. But here is the most important part of what Romano said. Amorim has sent a clear message both publicly and privately. He does not want players for the short term. He does not want someone who will help for a few months and then become a problem. He wants players who can be trusted for the present but also for the future. Amorim specifically said that if someone joins in January, it will only be if Manchester United believe that player could be an option for the long term. They do not want to add players just in terms of numbers. They want quality additions who fit the system and the culture. This is huge. This shows a completely different approach from some of Manchester United's previous transfer windows. This shows actual planning and strategy rather than panic and desperation. The players United have been linked with. Over the weekend, 2 names emerged as potential January targets for Manchester United. Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest and Jared Branthwaite from Everton. According to reports, each could cost around £70 million. That would be £140 million total if United signed both. Let us be clear about something right away. Just because United have been linked with these players does not mean they will sign them. In fact, based on what Romano is saying about Amorim's approach, it seems unlikely that United would spend that kind of money in January unless they are absolutely certain these players fit the long-term plan. But let us look at each player and evaluate whether they make sense for Manchester United. Elliot Anderson is a midfielder who has impressed at Nottingham Forest. He is young, talented, and has shown quality in the Premier League. As a midfielder, he fits the position that Romano says United are targeting. So there is logic to this link. However, would Anderson be a long-term solution for Manchester United? Is he good enough to start for a team that wants to challenge for the Premier League title? Or would he be a squad player who provides depth but does not really move the needle? These are the questions Amorim and his staff need to answer. Jared Branthwaite is a centre-back who United have been linked with before. He is English, he is young, and he has Premier League experience at Everton. On paper, he ticks a lot of boxes. United could certainly use defensive reinforcements, especially with Harry Maguire getting older and questions remaining about some of the other centre-back options. But again, is Branthwaite worth £70 million? Is he better than what United already have? Would he improve the team immediately, or would this be a signing for the future that does not help right now? The fact that United are being linked with these players does not surprise anyone. United get linked with everyone. What matters is whether Amorim and the club actually pursue these targets or whether they stick to their stated strategy of only signing players who fit the long-term vision. Why the long-term approach is so important. Let us talk about why Amorim's insistence on long-term thinking is so significant for Manchester United. Because this represents a fundamental shift from how the club has operated in recent years. Think about some of United's recent January signings. Players brought in to solve immediate problems. Players signed because they were available rather than because they were the right fit. Players who helped for a short period and then became burdens on the wage bill. These short-term signings rarely work out well. They might provide a temporary boost, but they often create long-term problems. You end up with a bloated squad full of players who do not fit the system. You waste money on wages for players who do not contribute. You block opportunities for younger players who might develop into something special. Amorim clearly understands this. He has seen what happens when clubs make desperate January signings. He knows that it is better to wait for the right player in the summer than to panic and sign the wrong player in January. This approach requires patience and discipline. It requires saying no to opportunities that might seem tempting in the moment but do not make sense long-term. It requires trusting your squad to get through difficult periods rather than constantly looking for external solutions. The fact that Amorim is taking this approach shows he is thinking like a proper long-term manager rather than someone just trying to survive until the end of the season. It shows he has a vision for where he wants to take Manchester United, and he is not going to compromise that vision for short-term gains. The situation with Kobbie Mainoo and Joshua Zirkzee. Romano also revealed interesting information about players who might leave Manchester United in January. Specifically, he mentioned Kobbie Mainoo and Joshua Zirkzee as players who want more game time. Wait, Kobbie Mainoo wants to leave? That might surprise some United fans. Mainoo has been seen as one of the bright young prospects at the club. He has shown real quality when given opportunities. The thought of him wanting to leave because he is not playing enough would be concerning. However, it is important to understand the context. Wanting more game time does not necessarily mean wanting to leave permanently. It might mean going on loan somewhere to play regularly and develop. It might mean having conversations with Amorim about what the path to regular first-team football looks like. For a young player like Mainoo, playing time is crucial for development. If he can get that at United, great. If he needs to go on loan for 6 months to play every week, that might be the best option for everyone. The key is making sure any decision is made with his long-term development in mind, not just to solve a short-term problem. Joshua Zirkzee is a different situation. He joined United with expectations but has not really established himself in the team. According to Romano, West Ham and Roma have both made contact about potentially signing him in January. This is where United need to be smart. Zirkzee is talented. He has potential. But if he is not going to get game time under Amorim, keeping him at the club serves no purpose. He loses value sitting on the bench. His development stalls. And United have a player taking up a squad spot and wages without contributing. If the right offer comes in January, United should seriously consider selling Zirkzee. Not because he is a bad player, but because he does not fit what Amorim is trying to build. Use that money to pursue targets who do fit the system. That is smart squad management. What Amorim said publicly. Romano mentioned that Amorim has also been speaking publicly about January transfers. This is important because it shows consistency between what he is saying privately to the club and what he is telling the media and fans. Amorim confirmed that the window will be open and there is a possibility United will do something. So he is not ruling out signings completely. He is keeping the door open for the right opportunities. But he was also very clear about his standards. I do not want players for the short term, Amorim said. This is not just a throwaway comment. This is a statement of philosophy. This is Amorim telling everyone what his approach will be. He also mentioned that United have one competition this season plus the FA Cup. With fewer matches to play than teams in Europe, United do not need a massive squad. Quality matters more than quantity. Having 23 players who can all contribute is better than having 30 players where 10 barely play. This thinking shows maturity and strategic planning. Amorim is not trying to collect players. He is trying to build a cohesive team where everyone has a role and everyone can contribute. The midfield priority makes sense. Romano confirmed that Manchester United are specifically targeting a midfielder for January. Let us discuss why this makes sense and what type of midfielder United should be looking for. Current midfield options include Case Moreau, who has been excellent recently but is 33 years old. Kabi Mainu, who is talented but young and possibly wanting more game time. And a few other players who can fill in when needed but are not necessarily ideal long-term solutions. United need a midfielder who can do several things. Control games from deep. Progress the ball forward. Provide defensive cover. And ideally, do all of this while being young enough to be a solution for the next 5 to 10 years. This is not easy to find. The type of midfielder United need is in high demand. Every top club wants the same profile. That means competition for signatures. That means high transfer fees. That means needing to convince players that United is the right destination despite not being in the Champions League. But if United can find the right midfielder, it would transform the team. It would give Amorim the control and stability in the middle of the pitch that allows the attacking players to flourish. It would provide the foundation for sustained success rather than just good runs of form. The question is whether the right midfielder is available in January. Often the best players are not available mid-season because their clubs do not want to sell. This is why summer windows are usually better for big signings. But if an opportunity presents itself, United need to be ready. Why United should not panic buy. Here is the most important point about United's January plans. They should not panic buy. They should not spend big money just because they have money available. They should not sign players just to make fans happy or to show they are ambitious. Manchester United have made too many panic buys over the years. Players signed without proper scouting. Players brought in because they were available rather than because they were the right fit. Players who looked good on paper but never worked out at Old Trafford. These mistakes have cost United hundreds of millions of pounds. They have set the club back years. They have created a culture where new signings are viewed with skepticism rather than excitement because fans have been burned so many times. Amorim seems to understand this. His comments about only wanting players for the long term suggest he will not be pressured into making signings that do not make sense. He will be patient. He will wait for the right opportunities. He will trust his current squad until the perfect addition becomes available. This approach might frustrate some fans who want to see new signings immediately. But it is the right approach. Building a successful football club is not about making splashes in every transfer window. It is about making smart decisions consistently over time. What success looks like in January. So what would a successful January transfer window look like for Manchester United? Let us set some realistic expectations. Best case scenario. United identify a midfielder who fits Amorim's system perfectly. Someone young, talented, and available for a reasonable price. They negotiate well and complete the signing early in the window. The player comes in, adapts quickly, and improves the team immediately. Meanwhile, players like Xerxes who are not in the plans move on to clubs where they will play regularly. United end the window with a better squad than they started with. Good scenario. United identify targets but decide the prices are too high or the players are not quite right. They choose to wait until summer when better options might be available. No major signings are made, but the squad stays together and continues building chemistry. Amorim works with what he has and the team keeps improving through coaching and development. Bad scenario. United panic and spend big money on players who do not fit the long-term plan. Or they fail to sign anyone despite having clear needs and then struggle in the second half of the season. Or they keep players who want to leave, creating unhappiness in the squad. Based on what Romano is reporting, it seems like United are aiming for somewhere between the best and good scenarios. They are open to signings if the right opportunity presents itself. But they are not going to force anything that does not make sense. That is the right approach. That is the kind of strategic thinking that leads to sustained success rather than short-term fixes that create long-term problems. The bigger picture about squad building. This situation is about more than just January transfers. It is about how Manchester United approach squad building in general. And Amorim's comments suggest a philosophy that could serve United well for years to come. Modern football is about having a clear identity and signing players who fit that identity. It is about building a cohesive team where everyone understands their role. It is about developing players and getting the best out of the squad you have rather than constantly looking for external solutions. The best teams in the world operate this way. Manchester City do not make many signings, but the ones they make fit perfectly into Guardiola's system. Liverpool under Klopp built their success by identifying specific profiles and finding players who matched those profiles. Arsenal under Arteta have been patient and strategic, building a young squad that can compete for years. Manchester United need to adopt this approach. No more scattergun recruitment where they sign players without a clear plan. No more collecting big names without considering how they fit together. No more panic buying in January because results are poor. Instead, have a vision. Identify the types of players who fit that vision. Be patient and wait for the right opportunities. Build a squad that makes sense rather than a collection of individuals who do not work well together. If Amorim can establish this approach at Manchester United, it will be more valuable than any single signing he makes in January. Final thoughts. Trust the process. Manchester United fans should feel encouraged by what they are hearing about January transfer plans. Amorim is thinking strategically. The club is planning properly. There is a clear philosophy about only signing players who fit the long-term vision. This does not mean United will definitely sign the perfect midfielder in January. It does not guarantee success. But it does show that the club is learning from past mistakes and trying to operate more intelligently. Sometimes the best transfer business is the business you do not do. Saying no to the wrong players is just as important as saying yes to the right ones. If United end January without making any major signings because the right targets were not available, that is okay. Better to wait and get it right in summer than rush and get it wrong now. Trust Amorim. Trust the process. Trust that smart, patient decision-making will lead to better outcomes than panic and desperation. The improved results on the pitch show that Amorim knows what he is doing. Give him time to build something sustainable rather than demanding immediate solutions that might create future problems. January is coming. Rumors will intensify. Every midfielder in Europe will be linked with United. But do not get caught up in the hype. Focus on what matters. Does the player fit the system? Is this a long-term solution? Would the signing make sense in 2 or 3 years, not just right now? Those are the questions that matter. And based on what we are hearing, those are the questions Amorim and Manchester United are asking. Thank you for staying grounded with us. Thank you for joining us at Unite United News, where we help you separate transfer reality from transfer fantasy. We know January will bring countless rumors and links. We know you will be bombarded with stories about who United might sign. We will be here throughout the window, analyzing every development with the same realistic, thoughtful approach you have come to expect from us. We do not get excited about every rumor. We do not treat every link as a done deal. We focus on credible information from reliable sources like Fabrizio Romano. We help you understand not just what might happen, but whether it should happen. Make Unite United News your home throughout the January transfer window. We will track all the developments, separate the real stories from the nonsense, and give you analysis that helps you understand what is actually happening at your football club. The window opens soon. The chaos is coming. But we will be here to guide you through it with honesty, clarity, and intelligence. Because that is what you deserve. Because that is what proper transfer coverage looks like. Until next time, stay patient, trust the process, and remember that at Unite United News, we always put smart analysis above cheap clicks and baseless speculation. Glory, glory, Man United.